Just got to mute when you're not talking. That's all.
Oh my goodness, I'm sitting here talking, thinking everybody's hearing me. Yay, they're there. Okay, so the last time I did it, it has a snafu with the stream. Now we're back in. We were talking about the relevancy of the book. On the screen, you have people that are actually in the book itself. You'll see some familiar names if you read the book, and if that's all right, because you'll be getting it soon, I'm sure, from Amazon. And then there's some caring leadership coaches on here. And so, yay, see, look at that stream just took off because LinkedIn was a big pull. So who was next after talking? I don't know who was going around, but who's next with talking about the book?
I'll go ahead, Heather. My name's Don Davis. I'm the Jefferson County Manager here in Jefferson County, Colorado. We're the fourth largest county with about 3,000 employees, and we're serving 600,000 citizens. Before that, I was a United States Marine Corps officer. You know what? Jim and Rich and Tanya made some comments already about the book and what they liked about it. What Jim said relative to the whole person, that's probably the most, there's probably no coincidence that it's in the middle chapter, because it's the meatiest part of the book, and it's really the most significant, because we have to lead the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Every couple of weeks we welcome new employees to the county, and we do so in a very personal way in order to set the tone and to reflect some of the very things that you have in your book. I love the book. I love the middle chapter, lead the whole person in particular. I love the little vignettes that you have where you share little stories about how you've applied these things and things have worked. So thanks, Heather. I really enjoyed the opportunity. As a Marine, leadership has always been one of the most significant things for me, leading the sons and daughters of America, our most precious resource. And so I thank you for including a lot of what we see as leadership traits and principles in the Marine Corps and as leaders.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed our time on the show. And, I spoke to over 160 leaders, and so I highlighted 80 of you in here. And so, yeah, just know that not everybody obviously made it inside of there. It was just folks that I went through, able to figure out after speaking to all those people, what were kind of the main themes, how can we synthesize it? How can we really give some meat to this nebulous concept of care? But we all say we care, we all think we care, but do we express care in a consistent way? And that's really the key. So I wanted to say for people in the book that these leaders are not perfect, because none of us are. I'm not. Oh my goodness, no. But they exhibit these particular behaviors in really perfect ways and in consistent ways. And so that's the reason why I wanted to highlight all of you in that way. So, okay. Hello to Stace and Nikki and Danny and Hemant and whoever else is there. There's a lot of folks that are out there. So hello, good morning. Thanks for joining. Hopefully everything is live on all the platforms now. It looks like we're good. So, okay. So who's next?
I'll go. This is Mario. Hey, everybody. Yeah, it's exciting to be part of this. I've been a Heather fan for many years, 6-7 years, I think. From her first book is how I got introduced. And now this is kind of cool to see the work of the last 7 years that she's put together to make this happen. So I really connected with this book because it takes a different approach to leadership, and that's just what we need, right? It's not the same regurgitated stuff that you hear about theory. It's practical stuff from real people of how to do a better job. And so I think this book is really powerful, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Thank you. And it means a lot to me for Mario, because I'm telling you, he reads like 100 books a year at least. So when he's like, and this is Heather's book and it's amazing, I'm like, oh yes, I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh, so I for those who don't know, I actually included Brian and Tanya, and actually I sent something to Gary too, but we'll see if he's able to join. So they are a part of the book. At the back of the book, I promise a couple things. I put in a link to a self-assessment, which is ready for people to take now, that gives them a report. The other thing I talk about is this idea of creating a caring leadership community with coaches that are there to help you through your assessment, and an academy where the courses will correspond to the needs that you might have based upon how you score in the assessment. So voila, we have a couple of the coaches actually on the screen, and we'll do the same thing this afternoon to highlight people that I hand selected who I thought really embodied caring leadership behaviors and could then help other people who are looking to grow in those behaviors. So both Brian and Tanya are on here now to represent them. So Tanya, I know you talked about the book, but welcome. And then Brian, have you spoken yet? I don't think so. Did you?
Not yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather. Glad to be here. Great to be part of the project and be part of the Caring Leaders Coach community. So people have talked about the practical nature of it, and that really resonated with me as well. And this journey that we're always becoming as human beings and leaders, right? And the 9 different chapters and different principles that you introduce in the book are all elements of that. And what I most appreciated about the book is the stories of people sharing vulnerably their stories of, hey, I used to not be so good in this area. I was able to go through this experience, listen and learn, and then apply it differently to become a better leader. So you can actually see it happening for people as a model for how we might look at being open to change and growing into ourselves as leaders. So looking forward to being part of the process as we work with those people that looking to become more caring leaders, because I think we all are on a spectrum at this point. It's just how do we want to get to a better place with that. So thanks a lot, Heather. Good to be with you all.
Who hasn't lent their voice? I just realized Benny dropped off, so maybe she didn't get that link after all. I wanted to be able to hear from her, but okay. Now Gary's on there. So I said, Gary, you're watching? I actually sent you a link to your email. I want you to join. So hop on here, okay? So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, again, I talked about this idea of I wanted to make sure the book wasn't just a book, that it was a support system. Because what I often find is we read a book and we're like, oh, that was awesome. And we have like I think I saw what Rich had, or somebody had, they had the kind of the things marked on the pages, and they're like, oh, and that's awesome. Let's look at that. But what I like about the idea of a support system is now you go into this community, and everybody is like in there with all these caring leaders in development. Some are more advanced in certain areas, and they're able to kind of work with each other, talk to each other. They have these coaches there, they have the academy, they have all these other resources, masterminds are there that then keep this thing moving along, right? So it's not just, the learning doesn't stop with the book. So that was the most important part of it. But I wanted to, in this moment, thank my team who actually brought all this together. And I'm serious, like as of this morning, like things are just done. And so I wanted to thank everybody. That's Monica and Ashley and Nikki and Adrian and Emerald. And oh my gosh, I know I'm missing Jonathan and Aman. There's so many people that are helping in the background to help bring everything together. And so I wanted to make sure I did not get too far without saying that. We are going to do some giveaways. So first, for those who just showed up today, we're going to pick 5 random people to get signed copies of the book. So you may have bought the book, but it's probably not signed. So you'll get a copy of that. And then for those who buy the book, do a review on Amazon, and then go post it on social that they did the review, and kind of ping, just let me know. So notify me that way. Then we're going to be doing drawings for these Starbucks gift cards. There's 5 of them. So we'll pick, and it'll be kind of randomized. I'm not going to pick it because I know a lot of you. So I'm not letting bias into play. We're going to randomize that. So just a heads up on that one. So now what I'd like to do is to go over some excerpts. Are there things that you highlighted, certain things that you'd like to chat about? I am going to be looking over here on the chat too to bring certain either questions on. So don't forget, whoever's out there in the world, you're a part of this. And ask us any questions if you already have the book and you've read certain excerpts from the book and it's related to the people on the screen. maybe you can ask them, for example, like with Rich, what he did with the gentleman at work who he could see was struggling with the football team. And he went out of his way, as Rich does, he tries to foster his own learning. So as he did, he went out of the way to help that team member learn how to become a better coach, to coach the people more effectively. So things like that. What are the things you might have for the people that are even on the screen? And then any other comments that you'd like me to put, because there's a lot of people commenting here. Yes, you love the t-shirt. Oh, we're going to try to figure out a way to put this in the Caring Leadership community for sale, because a lot of people have been liking it, but I did it really specially for the people that are in the book, because they are special, as a way to kind of set them apart. And then, of course, for the coaches. So that's why I initially did it. It wasn't available to everybody. Yeah. And the back of it says, it's a little bit sarcastic. So you think you're a caring leader, huh? Take the test to find out. So yes, I love it. Love it. Any, yes, if somebody could send the link, I know. You know what I'm going to do? I can, because I think I might have to stick this, because you can't do private chat. I was trying to get your email, Benilda, so I could actually send it back to you. And then I couldn't pull it up quickly. So if you could send me an email real fast, then I can email you back with that link and you can rejoin us. That's the good thing about live stream here. Oh, wait, there it is. She is there. She did email. Here we go. So I'm emailing to you right now. And the same thing for you, Gary, you as well. So anybody with excerpts, anything in particular you'd love to just talk about and bring up as it relates to the book?
Heather, I'll jump in here. I really loved what you talked about in terms of self-care. It just really is not possible for us to show up for our teams and sustain a caring leadership practice without doing the inner work. And that's actually exactly what you say on page 29. It is just not possible to sustain caring leadership without doing the inner work to get there. And, sometimes I think people think, well, I've got to have a meditation practice. I've got to do yoga. I've got to, take 10-mile walks every day. And really self-care can be very, very simple as, blocking off time to think. A lot of times we tend to undervalue that time that we need to just reflect and, kind of go within ourselves. And this is one of those things that I learned the hard way. I spent about almost 20 years in various senior level leadership roles in healthcare. And, we've been trying to transform healthcare for the last 20, 30 years or so, and it can be a very, very stressful endeavor. And sometimes you get on that treadmill and you just don't stop. You're just running and running, and you're giving and giving and giving. And then, in my case, I learned that I might have been showing up pretty well in the workplace. But some of that stress that I was bottling up inside started to leak out. And not only did it affect my health, my sleep, my relationships with my family and my friends, but also the way that I started to show up as a leader. And so when I learned the art of, managing my calendar, taking charge of that, doing things like, making sure that I had some kind of physical activity every day and some time to think and reflect, it really made all of the difference. And I know, Rich is featured in the book in this section. And I wonder, Rich, if you have any thoughts or comments about this topic.
Absolutely, Tanya. That's been a big thing for me. I went through a health scare a few years ago, which really made me kind of reassess the way I functioned. Used to not take so much care of myself from a health standpoint. So kind of re-upped that area of my life, and also made sure that, taking care of yourself and taking the time to de-stress and, unplug from technology. So often now we feel like we're on 24/7. But, setting the phone down, doing tasks and projects away from technology when you're away from work. I think that the pandemic definitely kind of mixed home life and work life together for so many people that are now working remotely. I work part-time remote from home. It's really hard to ignore that computer in the corner that is still sitting there and making noises. And so really making a conscious effort to do that is huge. So, yes.
I love it. And I see like a lot of, let's see, here's a question. Ooh, there's a lot of questions popping in. Let's see, here's one right here. When one's opinions are disregarded when having conversations with the owners or upper management, what are your thoughts as trying to change that mindset as a leader? So when you're giving feedback and the executive team or executive people are just basically ignoring it. Thanks, Cynthia.
I think
Heather, I'll
for
jump
me,
in on that one.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Either one of you.
I think what is always best to do is to bring forward how it's affecting you and others in the organization. Because sometimes I think if it's a point of view, it can seem opinion-based rather than objective and factual. And I just think that's the key, because then people get focused on where we want to go versus maybe the emotional part of it. Not that the emotional part isn't real. I mean, that's the whole person. So I think a challenge for leaders is to also give people grace when those situations have occurred and listen. Best thing you can do is sit back. We always say lead with inquiry. We have this phrase, don't go up the ladder. And I always joke with myself, even when I'm on top of the ladder, I'm saying, well, I wanted to make sure it worked in case I ever need it. So, it's that self-awareness to disarm as much as you can the emotional part of that, but recognize that's real though at the same time, and get to where you want to go.
Awesome. Done.
Yeah, Heather, I think your book addresses it too in your chapter on providing them safe space. I think you talk a lot about recognizing folks with different opinions and making sure that they're valued and those types of things. So I think your book very much speaks to that question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tried to. I think that what I found, my first book didn't have really as many stories, and I think it was mostly just all me talking and sharing different experiences based upon all the employees I've listened to over the years. This book was different because I did it in Heather style. I believe in inclusiveness. I believe in expanding or opening the circle and inviting more people to the table. So, and that's why there were so many people's voices in the books, that I felt like your words, your stories were much more impactful and proved the point. They were kind of proof of concept. Instead of me saying this is such a good idea, all these people that are doing it and the different impacts they had, I felt like were a lot more powerful. So, yeah. So Benny, since you were new to, come on, you can join in too. So what are your thoughts? I mean, were the parts of the books, I know you're on sabbatical, so you may not even gotten to all of it yet, but.
Good morning to everyone. And I'm so thrilled to be here with you in this moment, Heather, really. Congratulations and thank you, really. More congratulations and thank you, because this adds to the body of knowledge, right, that we all need to continue to grow our leadership and for new leaders coming in to the into the fray. So, I really, as you know from our conversations, I really believe in this lead the whole person, right? I mean, I've experienced it personally, right? I was a single mother as I was rising up in my career, with a 3-year-old in tow. I mean, I really believe in that it all comes together all at once, and sometimes for better or for worse. And so I think it is up to leaders to ensure that they are really, in fact, paying attention to the whole person, because some days you can really show up great as the business person that you are, and some days you cannot because of something that's happening in other parts of your world. And as you know, I also, that part about connecting deeply, really, I'm not a small talk kind of person. So so that really spoke to me, right? I mean, I think it's important to get to know people. I think it's important to get to know their stories. I think in general, that's how we build empathy for one another, and that's how we build connection with one another. Is we know where people are coming from, and what life has thrown their way. And so I do love that part about connecting deeply. And I am in the second week of a sabbatical because it's just been a really hard year, and I felt like I wasn't going to be able to do all of it that life has put on my plate. And rather than have the universe stop me in my tracks, I decided that I was going to take the pause myself. And I can't tell you how many young up and coming leaders, managers have said that must have been really hard to do. And it is really hard to do, but it's better than getting sick, right? And being out, and I mean, all of those things. So I do want to put in a plug for self-care and for pause when appropriate and when it can be done.
Thank you. Yeah, you're in that story in the book. If you have read the book, you remember that story about Benny going through a tough time and then helping someone else kind of take a deep breath to kind of pause, think through what's happening kind of in a more rational way and to see the better side. That's that team, the resilience idea that we talk about. How do you help others get to that point? So if you haven't, it's kind of cool. So anybody who's out there, isn't it kind of cool to see some of the people's voices who are in the book actually, like their faces here? I think that's really cool. It comes to life for me, I know. Even though I've already spoken to them, it still does. So I think it's amazing. Anybody else? Oh, Gary, since you're here, thank you for. Gary is one of the Caring Leadership coaches. Love him. He's from the UK, and we were just trying to get the link right. But anything you'd like to share related to the book or the impact or the people that are on the screen in particular?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations again, Heather. It's amazing timing for this work to come out. So thank you for bringing it. And I just want to share a reflection for me. So the Involve Them chapter for me is the one that really grabbed my heart personally, and particularly I just want to share. You referenced Kevin Patterson and how he, no matter who the person is in the organization, he sees them, whether it's the receptionist, whether it's a janitor, whether it's the CEO. And I think there's such value in truly seeing each person. And it's just a great reminder for me as to the importance of slowing down and seeing every person. So, there's so many lessons, Heather, and I love the book. Simple as that. Love the book.
The cool thing about the coaches is that they already started off some amazing conversations inside the caringleadership.co community that's there. So you can go create your own account and go in for free and just go ahead and join in the conversation around all the different chapters. It's all arranged based upon the behaviors in the book so that other leaders, again, we can learn together because this is not just a one-man show. We have to be doing this together. Again, inviting more people to the party, expanding who's at the table, and making sure that we can learn together. So, it's just amazing. Like I said, it all comes to life for me. Thinking about you, Mario, when you talk about leadership is about conversations, and it's the type of conversations that we have that really matter. And it's making sure that those conversations are really melded to the people that we are conversing with. So it's not just this cookie cutter approach, but it's understanding where everybody else is in their shoes and meeting them where they're at. I thought that was pretty impactful. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the ultimate sign of leadership is you can follow people you don't know, and you can lead them in a direction if you don't know them, if they're willing to follow you, but that's not nearly as impactful or as personal as if you actually get to know the person. And the only way to get to know people for real is through conversations. Mm-hmm. And that goes back into the cycle of listening that you have that diagram for in the book. And my favorite part about that cycle of listening is page 93. It talks about affirm with action. So no matter how good your listening skills are, if you don't back it up with action, it was all meaningless. It's all pointless, right? So, and that's the hardest part, I think, is as people who have lots of responsibilities, you take the time to listen and to do what you're supposed to do, but then you often forget to do lots of the little things at the end of the day where you're so focused on the big picture. But for the people we lead, the little things are what matter to them, because to them, it's not little. And lots of times forgetting to take care of the little things has a much bigger unintended consequence than you were planning on. And so affirm with action is something that I always have to constantly remind myself, hey, I listened, I gave the right words, but now we have to actually do the right action. You can't just say words. You have to actually do it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. When you hear yourself, sometimes it's like you're just in this tunnel and it's like, it's an echo chamber. It's the stuff I talk about. And I'm like, but when other people talk about it, number one, it validates like that I'm not insane, but also makes me realize the impact of doing that. Right. So I think that, thank you for that and backing that up as well. One of the things I wanted, so just for those who join a little later, again, we're going to be doing a drawing. So for just being here and active in the chat, I'm going to be giving away 5 signed copies of this book. Even if you already have your own, you'll have your signed copy, and then you can give the other one to somebody else who might really need it. And then if you go to do a review on Amazon and then you post that you did so on LinkedIn and let me know, then we'll be putting you in the drawing for one of these $25 Starbucks gift cards. So kind of cool. We can either send you a digital link or we can do the physical card itself. But anyway, this is so awesome. And looking at all these comments and people just feeling all of you all. I mean, it's just so exciting to me because I know what it's doing for those who maybe have the book in their hands. And there are quite a few of them that are in here that have. And so it's, again, bringing it to life. And so now, what I'd like to hear a little bit more about is from Dawn. Dawn, that the story in the book that I talk about when it's like the azimuth and the compass. And I was like going like, wow, this guy is like, I was just, because I've never been in the military. So this idea of us being their guide, that whole chapter of being in the guide kind of framed out around my conversation with you. And so I'd love to just hear more about that from you. You're on mute. Don, you're on mute. I know I do.
Thanks, Heather. Sorry about that. No, I think when we had your podcast, we talked about leadership, vision, and philosophy, and the story of the azimuth relates to me as a Marine. And when you shoot an azimuth, you go on your true north, and you establish what that course is, and you share your vision with those around you, so they can hold you accountable to that vision. Because we all get blinded on the peaks of success or lost in the valley of despair, right? But if we've got team members who know what our azimuth is, they can help us stay on course. And it also helps us lead them because it plots a direction that we should go. When we run into obstacles in life, we take that compass, we take that azimuth, we shoot it across the lake or across the river, we find a reference point, and we negotiate that. We stay on that reference point, we walk around the obstacle, and then once we get to that reference point, we break out our compass, we shoot that azimuth, and off we go again on our course. As leaders, I think it's really important for us to have those azimuths, to have a vision. 25 years ago, a guy by the name of T.S. Jones, he was a major general, walked into my office and he said, "Davis, what's your vision?" And I snapped to attention and I said, "2020, sir." And he said, "No, that's not what I'm talking about. You lead men and women. You lead the treasure of our country. Without vision, the people will perish." And he said that, there's 4 things about a vision. Number 1, you need to have one. Number 2, write it down so you don't forget it. Number 3, place it somewhere where you can remind yourself of it daily. And most important, 4th, you share it with others so they can hold you accountable to it. So that azimuth builds resilience, and it builds it builds strength into you as a person, and to your organization, and to group of people that you lead.
Thank you. And then I remember Jim, the story, because I work closely with Jim's organization, and I adore him. So I'm so glad you're here, Jim, and that you made the time in the last minute to be here. But the story that you talk about, that people come to you, I think people feel comfortable because they come to me, and I think they come to me to help them overcome a problem, and help them find a solution. And there's something to be said for that. So I'd just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So to me, one of the compliments you get as a leader is sometimes it's someone I haven't even worked with for 10 years. And my favorite phrase that I hear often is they'll say, "I'm coming here for an energy boost." I always leave here feeling more excited about what I'm doing, but it starts with listening, really genuinely being there and hearing what the issue is and slowing down. Mario said it exactly right. Whatever they're bringing you is the most important thing for them. And then, to pivot to something I really love in your book, it's the risk-taking section and empowering your folks. People may not think banking is a risky business because we're all, look at me, I'm in a coat, I'm looking all stuffy banker-like. So I embrace that. I think people like to hand their money to someone that looks stuffy and conservative. So that's probably a good idea. But we're really in the risk management business. We make loans. There's risk with that. But our industry is really being challenged to be more innovative. We're competing with Google and Apple and all sorts of companies. So if you don't create an environment where people feel empowered to take risks, try new things, you're not going to keep up with how the world's changing. But I'll circle back to what you were asking me about. It's just, I think, sometimes folks that work with me, an individual will be reporting to them and they'll see them in my office and they panic because they're going, "Uh-oh, why are they meeting with Jim versus me?" And then I go in there and just say, they came for an energy boost. It's all good. It's transparent. But I consider that the ultimate compliment when people show up at your door unannounced and say, can you help me with something? Sometimes it's work related, sometimes it's personal. Those are always the most difficult to navigate, but that's showing up for the whole person, because that's who comes to work every day, is the whole person. So.
Yeah. Like I said, I remember this, everybody who listens to the podcast will always hear me go, I'm always making all these noises. It's like, I can't help myself because I'm so geeking out when I listen to everybody that I'm just feeling it so deeply. So that's what I just did again. So if you hear me, like, what is Heather doing over there? That would be because I think all of this is so powerful. And so again, for those who maybe didn't hear earlier, what the idea behind caring leadership is not that it be this nebulous, squishy thing. Because I definitely don't think that's the work I do. Caring leadership is not about that. It's about trying to create more guardrails, more meat, something that leaders can hold on to, can say, yes, that's a leadership behavior that says, I care for you. Oh, I fell short today because I micromanaged and did not empower. Oh, I fell short because I didn't meet you where you're at. Your mother's sick at home. Your child is this and that. And I didn't take that into consideration. So knowing that those 9 are the 9 key areas that you can focus on, I think it makes it easier to say, okay, I can focus on those things versus this thing that's out there in the universe that caring, what does that really mean? Because we all think we're there. I think I'm there, and I'm not always there, right?
Can I jump back in? The other thing that I do that is share things about my own life with people. If they come in with something they're experiencing, I like to let them know I've been there. Sometimes I go home and I tell Diane what I shared at work, and she's mortified how much I share about my own life with everybody at work. But I'm like, hey, they need to see I'm real, I have stuff. And so it also makes it so that people know they can come to you with their stuff. So makes a difference how you show up, how authentic and how vulnerable you're willing to be. And you and I have talked about this. I don't like the word vulnerable for leaders, because I always am like, well, let's go take that, but I'm scared. No, vulnerable is authenticity to me, because that's what it really is. So.
Yeah.
To Jim's point, it's in the military, and when towards the end of my career, one of the things that we talked about was intrusive leadership, and not bad intrusive, but today we seem so caught up in not asking some of the hard questions. How are you doing? And really wanting to know how people are doing, and to pick and to get to know the whole person. You can't pull apart mind, body, and spirit if you're not willing to be vulnerable or intrusive in terms of our questions. I think we've become sterile as a society, and we've moved away from really getting to know each other on a personal basis. And I think it's okay to ask questions. If people don't want to answer, that's fine. But I do think we need to engage one another in a caring way, intrusive, not because we're busybodies or want to be nosy, but because we really want to know how people are doing. Colorado, for example, is one of the highest suicide rates for our younger people. How many suicides could we prevent if we were just willing to be vulnerable and ask a question that's uncomfortable, that perhaps that question will save someone's life? And so caring leadership is about caring about the whole person, and being willing and vulnerable, like Jim said, but also being willing to, be a bit intrusive, just in terms of, not in a bad way, but in a caring, loving way. Just like as a parent, Heather, you share stories as a mom, and how you get involved in your daughter, or in those relationships, those difficult relationships. And maybe you provide a little advice. She listens or she doesn't, but you've at least had a chance to teach and to coach.
Yes. I want to take the second to pause just to let you know, out there on Facebook and LinkedIn, YouTube, that I see you. And so Carmen, hello. Amant, hello. Steve and Terhia, hello. Danny, hello. I mean, hi. Kathleen, Marcia, I know you've been really, Marcino, you've been really excited. Olivia, hi. Chris. So thank you. Like, I see you. We know you're here. I know we're having this conversation here, so I don't want you to feel like you're on the outside. So for those who didn't hear earlier, I have a few of the caring leadership coaches on here. And they are part of this new evolving caring leadership community that will be around the book. So it's this idea of using this book, kind of like Don talks about, as a guide. And so taking that through, having conversations, using our self-assessment results, and you get a free basic report for that. So you can go look at your results, talk to in the community, and then if you need to, you can go to the academy. But it's an entire support system meant for leaders. And these coaches here were hand-selected by me, and it's because they embody the caring leadership principles. And I think as I've watched them from afar and close up, I see how they already work with their clients in the coaching situation and just in the world. So that is Gary Turner from the UK, and Brian, and then Tanya. And like I said, there'll be more this afternoon that we'll be introducing, but there are 8 to start. And hopefully you will make them very busy with just all the work you do to try to change yourself, to improve just a little bit every day. So I'm excited for that. Hi there, Carmen. All right. So who's next? Who else wants to talk? Because this is all good stuff. And I think we have another 15 minutes, so we can continue to talk through the different areas. One of the things I say a lot on the show, and I say it just generally, is that it is not about perfection. If it was about perfection, I would have cowered in what just happened earlier with the link going away and LinkedIn not being on there, right? It's about continuous improvement. It's about getting better just a little bit every day. And so that if we have this focus of just tweaking and just getting better every day, then we don't get perfection really is the enemy of anything good, in my opinion. Now, having said that, I'd want to have my pilot be pretty perfect, right? When they're flying the plane. I'd like my surgeon to be pretty perfect. But in most cases, I'm talking about in how they're executing on the thing they do, right? But as human overall, right? None of us are perfect, and we should just be seeking to get better every day. So I just want to say that as a foundation, that I'm not putting people on the screen as like these, the best people in the world, but they are models in their own right. And I think we all can be. And so I was trying to point out the behaviors that we can all model. So I just wanted to level set there. So any of the coaches, or anybody have anything to say? There's a lot to take in here. I know.
Just on that point of, getting a little bit better every day, I just wanted to share something that I have done for many years in my own personal development. I have, let's say I'm working on one of these 9 behaviors of caring leadership. One of the things I like to do is identify a couple of people that I really trust, and I ask them to be spotters for me. And I wonder if you all would be, interested in just trying a little experimentation. Get the book, pick out one of the behaviors, and say, what's one small thing that I could try in maybe all my meetings or one of my meetings today? And what you do with a spotter is you just say, hey, you're somebody I really trust. I'm working on helping my team build resilience in this specific way. Would you please give me feedback at the end of this meeting and tell me if you think I did that? So, it's something that I've done for many, many years. I still do, even if it's a board meeting where I know I'm nervous and I have a big idea that I don't know if it's going to be, if it's going to catch on, if people are going to like it. I'll say, hey, I'm working on my courage. In this meeting, could you please let me know if you thought I showed up courageously? And it's just a wonderful way to build, trust with your colleagues, even a member of your team, because, as Don said, you give people a vision, or you give them something that you're working on, you're trying to work toward. They're suddenly so engaged in wanting to support you in your development as a leader. So I just wanted to share. It doesn't, you don't have to become perfect at caring leadership on day one. It's a constant, continual practice.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. So true. Gary?
I'd love to. I just want to that's just a brilliant statement, Tanya. I just want to link back, if I may, to something Don shared earlier. It really touched me, like almost had a tear in my eye. When you asked a question, genuinely, you said, could a question save a life? And I really link that to your chapter about safe spaces, Heather. Is safe spaces aren't always 50, 100, 1,000 people. It can be one-to-one. And are we conscious enough about the safe space that we're creating in that moment for one or more of our team? And I just wanted to acknowledge Don and that really powerful question. Could a question well put save a life? because that's caring leadership. It really, really hit me. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. So thanks for that, Don.
Thanks, Gary. The point to that too is that is three-dimensional in terms of our leadership responsibilities, up, down, left to right. There's people above us we can ask those questions of. Below, it's not. Sometimes we focus leadership is just about the folks below us or that we are leading, but we lead three-dimensionally. We're leading people that are above us, that are in charge of us as well as our peers to our left or right, and they're leading us from time to time, because we also need those same questions. I'd be lying if I said there weren't time in my life when I needed someone to ask me that very question, Gary.
There was a question from someone. Wait, wrong one. It's scrolling so fast that I'm not even able to keep up. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so do you feel that there's a distinction between caring and compassion? So if in the book, compassion is an element of it. And it's interesting because even after the book, so leading up to it and before the publication, the thing that really has, and particularly during the pandemic, the thing that really has been at the forefront for me, and I realize I'm on this planet to kind of make sure I profess it. And it's this idea of empathy and compassion together, and how they're a powerful force. That empathy is the sensing of another person's feelings, putting yourself in their shoes. And the compassion is actually going out of your way to take action on behalf of another. Totally different. Empathy is not the same thing. And so I do feel like good question. I do feel like at the heart of caring leadership is this idea of, are you prepared to act on behalf of another? Are you prepared? Because again, we can listen. Listening's good. Listening's really good. And even asking good questions, that these are all good, but it leads up to the action, as Mario talked about earlier. It is the taking it into our soul, into our fiber, and then acting upon it that kind of puts us over the edge where people go, oh my gosh, they do care. So, and anybody who works with them, they know this is how I am. I believe it's the act. Let's the action. Let's communicate the action. So that cycle of just being there for a person and making sure you act upon it and let them know that you heard them, you're acting because of what you heard, is so critical for them to understand that care is there. So amazing question. I don't know who it is because it says LinkedIn user, but thank you for that. Let me try to see if I can get off the screen here. Okay,
Looks like
so any
Rosalind from the
feedback on
UK.
that? Oh, it says UK. Oh, it does say Rosalind, UK. Yes, thank you, Rosalind, from the UK.
And something
Who
to add
else?
to that comment, actually, Heather, is that, when people know that you have their backs, they'll go to the ends of the earth for you. So it's building that relationship with your team members or the management team above you, and nurturing that, and they will do anything that's needed for the mission of the group once they understand that we're all in this together. So that's a huge factor to be able to build that trust. And I think that a lot of companies and organizations realized that as the pandemic started and many people had to go to remote work, where suddenly you weren't there with your team all of the time. But the fact that if you had a good relationship and this trust already built, and they understood that you had their backs and understood maybe they weren't all in the same exact situation that you were if they were working from home. They might have a very different environment that they had to function in. Having that kind of latitude for everybody was really important, and then they were able to really come through for the team.
Heather, can I just add something to this conversation, which is really based on my years in the social sector, right? I think that caring and compassion are absolutely key for all of us. And then there are people whose life work are with families and individuals who depend on our care and our compassion. Those who are working with the homeless, those who are working with child welfare systems, those who are right where they go out and every day they're pouring their entire care and compassion into other people in order to lift them up. And so I think that when you work in the social sector, those folks that are doing this work need your triple caring and compassion, because they are putting all of their stuff and all of their action, turning all of their care and compassion action into the people that we expect them to be serving. And then who does that for them, right? And that really should be us. And that's why it's important to create a community within an organization that can support that. Because people go out and they're depleted because they're doing that for others in their day to day. But there's got to be a space to do that inside.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
I love that.
Right.
Can I jump on
Yes,
that a
go
little
ahead,
bit?
Brian.
So this all takes energy, right? So we can talk about caring, leadership, and compassion, and it's a lot of it's outward, right?
Yeah.
And so we can't like serve from an empty cup. And so the self-care piece, that's why first chapter, self-leadership, self-care, right? There's an intention, I believe, there, Heather, in terms of we got to start there because that's where we fill our cup, and we be mindful of our energy. Right? Energy and language too, because language can help with either shutting people down or igniting people or opening them up. And what comes up for me as I'm listening to all the shares today, and it's been an awesome conversation, is we're talking about human behaviors, right? So it does apply to all of us. We all have the ability to shift these. And it's around mindset, perspective, and intention ultimately, and commitment. And if we as leaders demonstrate that, caring for ourselves first, it's difficult for us to kind of truly model it if we're not doing it ourselves first and stepping into that. Once we can, the power of being able to then bring that to other people, that's where we get the amplification and the multitude of ripples that come from that. And so I love the fact that we're talking about energy, self-leadership, and these examples in the book are so powerful because they demonstrate the practical nature of it. It's simple but not easy. When they went to coaching school, they told us coaching's simple but not easy. So is caring leadership, right? And so, and it's an invitation, right? We're all where we are, and there's no judgment for where people are when we get started on this journey. We're all where we are, and we're here to walk beside those folks that are willing to take that next step.
Yeah.
So Heather, your coaches will love this plug, but I'm a firm believer in having a coach. And I'll give you guys a great example. So at the start of the pandemic, I mean, we have 120 branches, 3,000 employees, and we're dealing with a lot of crisis, and there wasn't great leadership, frankly, in a lot of parts of our organizations outside of the bank. I won't be specific, but so we were having to make decisions because of the lack of clarity on what you do with masks, what you don't do. And we did we had a cadence. We'd meet at 7 a.m. and at 6 p.m. as a senior leadership team because it was that dynamic and changing. And I had a coaching session with my coach, and she just changed my whole perspective. First of all, I needed a safe place to vent a little bit. So that's what a coach can do for you as well as a leader. We all need that. But two, she said, so have you written out what success looks like at the end of the pandemic? This is 1 week into it. Sat down and did that, dramatically changed how we made decisions. Because the first things are keep your customers safe, keep your employees safe. Suddenly decisions became very easy when you understood where you wanted to be. So my big plug for a coach is, no matter how good you are as a leader, there can be situations, and there was certainly a lot of crisis situations at that time where you need someone to pull you up and make you take a different look at the problem. So I know coaches, you should be smiling, but I'm a big fan. I don't think I'm going to grow till I'm in the ground, and then I'm going to grow a different way. That's my motto in life. So I'll grow something else from the ground when that day comes.
So I wanted to make sure before we have like 4 minutes left, so we're going to do a kind of a round robin with any last final words. But I wanted to make sure I also thanked my publisher. Totally forgot to do that, and that's Barrett Kohler. So if you're out there, hoot hoot. You're amazing. Again, I think caring leadership, and I think about my editor, Steve Parasanti. He is just so amazing and so uplifting. And so just thank you to you all. And of course, I already thanked the team. I want to make sure that if you have been taking any pics of the screen, don't forget to post it out on social, because Bernie told me that the book is already looking really good on the charts. And so any of these postings really help people see it and understand the impact it could be and have on the world. And then, of course, help us, right? Continue to reach those charts, which I think is awesome. Right now, I think they drop shipped at least 4,000 of these. There were a lot of these that dropped around the world. So before the book even came out, the publisher in Japan bought the rights to translate into Japanese. We've got people I know that I've gotten confirmation that they're in Switzerland, and so I'll be getting more of those. But just know that. So if you want to take a picture of the screen, you want to post it, do that. And then, of course, don't forget that we will be doing those drawings for the folks that do reviews, because reviews are super helpful, very helpful. That Amazon algorithm for reviews is amazing. So Let me just make sure I'm not missing out on anything else that I was supposed to. Thank you for everybody who's already been here and has been active, because this active chat is so awesome, and it'll stay. It'll be housed on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on YouTube kind of indefinitely, so anybody can go back and look at it. Okay, so I think now let's go down. So now, if there are any final things, any final words that you like to give the people who are out there in the world, you are either are caring leadership coaches, or you, in Heather's words, are exemplifying or embodying that, at least at a minimum, the behavior I highlighted in the book. So what might be your parting words as we go around now? Let's start with Mario.
All right. It's just leadership. If you actually think and care and think about it and care and put your heart into it, it's really hard. Actually, it's not easy. But the more you are aware, as lots of people talk about, that awareness is that first step, and then have the courage, which is doing the right thing, even in the face of fear, grief, or pain. As long as you do the right thing, and when it's hard, then you're going to be on the right track. And so this book just helps you paint that picture, or see the areas that you might not have thought about before. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Mario. Rich?
My quote would be to learn from others. Your book has 80 leaders that have different experiences. I'm also part of a campus supervisors network at UW, so we share information with each other. So learning from others and their experiences can only help you grow and develop into a better leader. So.
Thank you. Don?
I better unmute myself this time. Thanks, Heather. I think you use on your in your book, you've got a what do they call that thing that you put the paint on?
The canvas? Wait.
No, you have you have your chapters.
Oh, the
laid
palette,
out
you mean?
Yes, you have the chapters laid out in the palette.
Yes.
And I think one of the primary colors in there is lead the whole person, and from that you can make a lot of different colors. I think your book does a great job articulating that. And I think, Theodore Roosevelt said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think your book very much builds on that particular quote, realizing I'm bringing that in from the outside, but I just think that's something that was always beat into me as a young Marine officer. And I love the way in the book you have pulled out things and principles in different ways to look at three-dimensional leadership. And I applaud your efforts, and I look forward to seeing this book succeed and future books in time.
Thanks, Don. Jim?
The whole person comes to work every day, so you should show up authentically as a whole person. That's my advice. When we're people working with people, it all changes. So, and go buy the book. It's great.
Thanks, Jim. Gary?
Just going to repeat, Jim, go buy the book. It is great. But I just want to also offer one extra reflection. As I read the book, Heather, what I loved is that not only is there the opportunity for us to live as whole human beings by digesting and role modeling this book, you've almost offered embryonic living system organizational design in this book as well. If you can organize your organization around this as well as yourself. And we need to do that more as we navigate change as business as usual. So I think there's a huge opportunity well beyond just the personal development that you've offered in this book. So well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Benny?
Yes. Well, first, I want to say thank you for writing the book, and thank you for putting this body of information and work in the world for everybody to access, because we definitely need it now, I think, even more than ever. And then I think what I will leave people with it, which is something that's been brought up before, is, less perfection and more authenticity. And I like that that writing around making speaking the truth the norm. And if you're being authentic, then those two should go hand in hand. So thank you for the book, and I think this is a meaningful and practical reference that we can all use in our day-to-day. And I just want to thank you for putting that into the world.
Brian?
So what comes up for me as I've read the book and I'm listening to the stories shared here is the relatability of the book. It's easy to connect to the behaviors and the stories in there, and you can then kind of relate it back to yourself and personalize it. And one of the chapters we haven't talked as much about is looking for the greatness in others, and I think there's a lot of power in that. Because when we have the mindset of looking beyond what just the person was hired to do, what they have in their resume, there's more complexity to the person in terms of what they can actually bring to your organization. So that's the invitation I would make, is to look for the greatness in others.
Thank you. Tanya?
Yeah, Heather, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this community. What an inspiration you all are. And I'm just really humbled and excited to be here. And the thought I'll leave you with is, I am a passionate believer that there is a brilliant leader within each and every one of us. And whether you're leading yourself, leading your family, or leading your team, there is brilliance within you, and you are enough. The magic of this book is that there are very, very practical ways for you to step fully into that brilliant leader role that is lying in wait for you. It excites me so much to see all of you out there in the LinkedIn, Facebook communities and everything. Heather, you are just amazing at creating community and inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you all. So again, go buy the book if you haven't. Get it for your teams if you want to. And also, just thank you for being there. I've been here. I'm so glad that we've been just present together, share this time together, post, share, and know that I will always be there, just right there, trying to be the caring leader, trying to embody every element of the behavior in this book. So be well. Thank you all. And just have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.